the move or the shift for me came when I understood that not only do I need to be working on a conscious level to create release, but a subconscious, a physical, and an energetic level. And it's been the combination of all of those 4 areas that have helped me hear more. And when I say hear, I mean connect more with myself and listen to my inner voice. I think that has been massive. And the more that I've done that, the more money I've made.
Hello, you gorgeous human beings, and welcome to another episode of Love, Sex and Magic with me, your host, Mel Wells, and I'm joined today with my pooch, Rio, who wants to record this podcast intro with me right now. I hope you're having a beautiful week. I am sat right now at my desk overlooking the ocean in Miami, and I feel so content right now. I have a really juicy episode for you today with one of my dear friends and mentors, Suzy Ashworth. Suzy is a 7-figure entrepreneur, quantum transformation, embodiment coach with the superpower to help female entrepreneurs create 6-figure breakthroughs in their business fast so that they too can expand into limitless living and create an incredibly positive difference in the world. Suzy has been one of my speakers at my live event, the Self-Love Summit, twice now, and absolutely blown the roof off. And she's also been one of my guest speakers and experts inside my very, very special mastermind, the Queendom. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the beautiful Suzy. And in this episode, we talk all things quantum living, the success mindset that you need to create these kinds of results and freedom in your business, in your life. We talk about love, we talk about family, we talk about expansion, and we just share really candidly about both of our journeys, because Suzy and I have really been around for a long time in this world now. So we've seen a lot and we've been through a lot together. So this is a really special conversation, and let's get into it, shall we? Suzy Ashworth, the one and only. The one and only. Welcome to the show. The one and only. I had to say that, babe. I didn't even plan to say that, right? For everyone listening, right, Suzy has been one of my speakers at my London event, the Self-Love Summit, for 2 years. And she always has a theme song, which is the one and only, right? Yeah. And she gets everyone up on stage and like singing. And if you guys have seen all the photos of like all the women on stage in their bras and knickers, yes, at the Self-Love Summit, this woman right here, Suzy Ashworth, she is the one responsible for that.
You are welcome. Yeah, that one of the highlights of all of the speaking that I have done. And I think that honestly, that event, it set the bar, but it also then means that people are always like, well, what are you going to do next? What's going to happen? And I'm like, there was only ever one Self-Love Summit. That's never going to happen again. I'm keeping my clothes on, and so is everybody else.
Oh, babe, that means so much to hear you share that. And that event is so, so, so special to me. And I can't wait for proper live events to come back in the world so we can all gather and create something even more amazing. So, yeah, and we'll see if we can get Chesney Hawkes there as well.
I have to say that the first Self-Love Summit, that was very, very special to me as well, because that was the first time that I think that I really allowed myself to be deeply vulnerable on stage. It makes me feel emotional just thinking about it. One of my friends was in the who is now a client, who was in the audience, and afterwards she said, I've never seen you speak that openly and that honestly before. And it was, there's something about what you create and the energy that you invite people to step into when you come onto that stage, at least for me anyway, that invites me to go deeper and open up more fully. So I'm really grateful for those opportunities and what has come out of those events. So thank you.
Oh gosh, it's my absolute pleasure. You are just a rocket ship on that stage, and everyone just absolutely adores you. So yeah, gosh, I really missed that event. It was so special. So special. I mean, you and I, we go way back. Like, we must have met around like 8 years ago.
Yeah, this is my 8th year in business. We go back right to the beginning in our WhatsApp mastermind.
Yes. Yes, we were both building our businesses literally from the ground up together. And oh my gosh, it's just been so inspiring, like watching your journey and getting to be a part of it as well. Like every step along the way, our paths have crossed in so many different ways. We were first of all building our business in this little mastermind together that we just created. It wasn't like a paid mastermind. It was just a little WhatsApp group that we made. And we were right at the beginning doing our first launches of our programs and offerings. And then, a few years later, we both got signed with Hay House together, and our books were like pretty like close together. That when they came out, your first book was around hypnobirthing, the Calm Birth School. I remember that was the business that you were running at the time. Then obviously you came and spoke at the Self-Love Summit. I've watched you grow your business. We've shared team members. And then this last year, we've been working together, and you've been really helping me with my business. So, and this year we're also going to Necker Island together. How about that?
Yes. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. And we could never have planned it. We could never have anticipated what was going to happen and how things were going to unfold for us. But I think the one thing that has remained consistent from the very beginning is our level of intention when it comes to co-creating our worlds, our lives, and our businesses. And I think what's really interesting is even with a high level of intention, the universe will still be like, da-da! And like you'll be presented with stuff again that you never anticipated. And I suppose that's life. That's the beauty of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also just really just been so in awe of your spiritual growth along with your business growth. And I know that your mindset and your embodiment and your spiritual practices have evolved and grown and transformed so much. And I know that you see that as really like the the golden ticket to success. I know your famous slogan that you use everywhere, your motto is faith plus action equals miracles.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Yeah. That's Caesar's fault. So Caesar is my eldest son, and he is going to be 10. Well, no, he was 10 this year. He was 10 in February. And the thing that first inspired that was reading Think and Grow Rich. And in that book, Napoleon Hill tells the story of his son being born deaf, and him and his wife setting a very clear intention that their son would hear, and they would speak to their son like every single day, knowing that one day he would hear their voices. And I'm not sure if it was a specific phrase, but I remember reading that and just feeling like, wow, like we get the opportunity to plant the seeds of possibility with our children. And as soon as I felt pregnant with Caesar, I knew that I wanted to be able to say to him, you can do anything that you want. And so he was the person that inspired me to rethink my career. But as soon as he was born, I was saying to him, faith plus action equals miracles. and it's slightly longer. We have it's our prayer, but I've said that to him. I said that to him from the moment he was born, and tonight, putting Luna to bed, she got that as well. So the intention is that inspires them to go on to do amazing things with their lives.
So beautiful. And you are such a living embodiment of this. I'm always so inspired by the way that you see things, and you're really able to help me shift a lot of things as well. Like, I'm often coming to you and I'm saying, this is what's going on. And you're like, look at it from this perspective instead. And, I really see you as someone who really lives in such an abundant way, both internally and externally, with what you create in your life. And I know you're working with some really high level entrepreneurs and thought leaders and CEOs to really help them create more freedom in their lives. And also, I know that you're working with a lot of business owners that are, in that first few years as well. So I'd love if you could share just how you went from, because I know 8 years ago, you didn't have this mindset, you were coming from a very different place. So I'd love to hear more about your journey of how you started to shift from that kind of scarcity, not enough way of thinking into, where you are today.
I think that it has been many, many different things that have contributed it. One is my own mentorship. I've always worked with mentors since starting my business. I think that there were 6 months where I didn't, and I've always worked with people who have thought outside of the blueprint. I've always been attracted to spirituality. When I was 8, actually, I asked to be christened. I asked by my foster parents to be taken to the local church, which is kind of weird. They were not religious at all, but I definitely felt a calling. And then when my mum died at 19, I was not a particularly nice person, as in not that I was horrible, but I was a typical 19-year-old, so very selfish, very self-centered. And when she passed, I knew that it was an opportunity to change the way that I was. And that led me to go traveling. I was away from the UK for 4 years, and on my travels, I met so many beautiful, beautiful humans. And one guy that I met whilst I was traveling in Thailand, he was an Indian peace pilgrim, and he was cycling around the world. And he was one of these people that, they've done so much work. When you're in their presence, you just want to cry. And not sad tears, but just you feel their peace. And I met this guy on the road, and he made me an egg curry at the side of the road. And of course, it was the best egg curry that you can possibly ever imagine to eat. But I must have spent an hour with him, and his presence and his energy and his heart and his intention changed my entire life. Even as I speak about him, I feel his love, and I feel fortunate to have met many individuals who, in their own way, have shown me what peace is. And every single time I meet somebody like that, it's an invitation for me to go deeper into myself, to find my own peace. Because I think that now, especially having reached a level of financial freedom, which enables me to choose in many, many ways things that I never thought that I would be able to choose, I realize more than ever, and this is nothing new, anybody who has a significant amount of financial abundance will say, money doesn't make you happy. And until you have that financial freedom, it's very difficult for you to understand that it's not the key to happiness. And whilst I am so grateful and so appreciative for the choices that I have. I understand that the key to genuine, authentic, long-lasting, sustainable happiness is to find your peace, is to connect with your essence. And I think that as a very mental, mindy person who likes to figure things out, like I love a strategy, I also know that true flow, true downloads, true peace, true happiness, none of that comes from a strategy. It all comes from your connection to your essence. And so I'm just very committed to bringing more and more of that into everything that I do, how I coach, how I show up, how I serve, all of the things. That was really long.
So beautiful. No, I love it. I love it. And I really associate the word freedom with you, not just because you have a program called the Freedom Experience and a live event called the Freedom Experience, but because you really work on cultivating freedom within, as well as helping so many people become financially free as well. So I'd love if you could share let's talk about the emotional and spiritual freedom first. And I want to hear some of your practices and things that have really helped you with that. And then the finances, because a lot of people come to you because they want to be more financially free. So let's do both of these. What are some of your habits, rituals, practices that have really helped you along the years, along the journey?
I think the things that I always come back to, and I wish that they were more exciting, but the things that I always come back to are meditation and journaling when it comes to daily, day in, day out. How do I get closer to how do I decipher the crap from what really is to get very, very quiet and then write. Those two things, absolutely, I will come back to again and again. I think that outside of those daily practices, I think the biggest shifts that have seen my finances grow, but also given me the inner peace, is understanding that as individuals, we're a channel. And so when we are looking to create anything or receive anything, the clearer we can be as individuals, the easier it is for us to receive, whether that is inspiration, creativity, money, love, whatever it is. We're looking to clear out the shit that we're holding on to. And so for me, I think a big shift in my awareness came from the fact that because I said in the beginning, I'm very mindy. So mindset has always been a very big thing for me. I think the move or the shift for me came when I understood that not only do I need to be working on a conscious level to create release, but a subconscious, a physical and an energetic level. And it's been the combination of all of those 4 areas that have helped me hear more. And when I say hear, I mean connect more with myself and listen to my inner voice. I think that has been massive. And the more that I've done that, the more money I've made.
So good. Yeah, I love this. It's so true. I felt the same thing. I love what you shared about clearing out the noise so that you can hear the truth, so that you can truly listen. And there is so much noise out there, especially in the online world. We're spending so much time consuming information and media and seeing everyone doing their thing on social media. It's become such a normal part of our lives that there's never been more distractions in our worlds. And so it's almost like it's never been harder for us to be able to tune in and hear our inner voice. But that truly is our key to freedom. One of the things that really helped me, and this I'm sure won't resonate with everyone, but for me, when I stopped having a glass of wine in the evenings, I wasn't a huge drinker, but I was drinking just a glass of red wine most dinner times.
And it was just like creating a little bit of fog in my morning, and it was just clogging up my channel. And it was only when I cleared that and stopped, and it's now been 18 months, I was like, whoa, what a difference. Like my channel just feels so much more open. I can hear my intuition stronger. I'm way more in touch with myself. So for me, that was a really big piece.
Yeah, this whole year I've had one bottle of wine. And in the past, I was really similar to you. Like I would drink every day, like not excessively, but a lot. And I had 90 days off from New Year to March. And then I decided, oh, I'm going to get myself a bottle. And I drank and I didn't feel good. I didn't feel terrible, but I didn't feel as good as what I can feel. And that's really the reason that I have stopped. It's the reason I stopped smoking weed. It's the reason that I don't drink fair. Like I call myself a non-drinker. You know, I won't have that odd glass when I go out for dinner anymore. It's the reason I don't do any of that stuff, not because it doesn't necessarily agree with me, but I know how good clarity feels. And I think, what you were saying about the online world, there are so many distractions, and it's so easy to become unclear. It's so easy to adopt other people's voices. It's so easy to be influenced by other people's thoughts and actions and behaviors. And I see it every single day, people getting swept up, believing that they're doing their thing. And it's like, is it your thing, or is it just the thing that is happening right now? And I find that the clearer that I am, the less I'm clogging myself up, the easier it is to catch myself when I'm getting carried off away from my path.
I love this. It's like what I'm hearing you share is that it's really not about just like adopting someone's formula or strategy or what have you. It's really like the path to growing your business and living your purpose and, making a big impact in the world and having this freedom is really about your relationship with yourself and how much you can love and trust and honor yourself every step of the way.
Yeah, it really is. And I want to acknowledge that I think that is a really tough path. And I think it's easy to listen to conversations like this with people like us and think, oh, they've got it all worked out. And I think that where I am in my life, less so in business, but definitely in my life, is like there's always another bloody layer. Do you know what I mean? It's like the commitment, like once you've dipped your toe in, like once you've had that clarity, it's the same with the drinking. It's very difficult to go back because you know how good it can feel. And it's the same with doing this work. Like once you've had a look underneath the veil and you're like, oh, that's what peace feels like. Oh, that's what joy feels like. Oh, you can't put the veil back down and be, content. And so it's like, fuck, okay, it's another level, another layer. And that's where I am at. Like, it's a work in progress always.
Yes. And one of the many things that I love about you, Suzy, is you've just created such a huge amount of impact and success from your life, your business, and you're a mother of probably two of the most gorgeous kids I've ever seen in my, three of the most gorgeous kids I've ever seen in my life. And, also I think you've also not got a huge online platform. I think some people think that you need to have like a massive audience in order to create massive success. And you you don't, and you've made it, you kind of show people what's possible. Can you speak into that a bit? Because I'm sure that's on people's minds.
Yeah, I'm really proud of this, actually. I don't have a huge online platform. We've just crossed 10,000 people on Instagram. But if I'm really honest, Instagram is not my home. Like, my home is Facebook. And we have a group of 5,000 people. And actually, I only created that group in March of 2020. So that is relatively new. Like, everything that I have done in my business, I've done off a small audience. And I think that the reason that my business has, in inverted commas, like punched above its weight, we will do multiple seven figures this year, is because of one message. Like, I believe that your message is the foundation for absolutely everything that you do. When anybody comes into my world, they hear me saying, I'm doing this because I want to be part of a tidal wave of positive impact. And that was relevant when I was running the Calm Birth School, when I then did the Baby Business School, and now when we do the Freedom Experience. It doesn't really matter what it is that I'm doing. Like, that intention of showing people how they can make a positive difference, it runs through every single thing that I do. And so message is everything. And then my commitment to growing and learning means that I've had people that invested £97 with me 8 years ago in the Calm Birth School online course, who have then gone on, as they've grown, like, they continue to buy my programs as a business mentor. And it is the continuation of commitment to evolution that means that my audience have grown with me. So it's often the same people that come back again and again and again, as well as obviously there's been growth, but I believe that that is why we've done what we've done. And I think the other big thing is, and whilst this has only been written down in the business in the last year or so, what is absolutely true is just that I love my people. Like, I love my clients.
Yeah.
And
you can tell. You can tell.
Yeah. And they feel it. And that makes a difference. I think that it really makes a difference. And so message and values and evolution, that will see you through.
Yes. All of these things are just, I think, why I love you and why we've just continued to be friends for so many years. And as you're sharing this, I feel like the same. Like, I've also pivoted a lot and evolved a lot, but my audience and my people have come with me, and I really deeply care about them, and I really deeply care about the impact, and what we're actually doing here really means so freaking much. Can we zoom in a little bit on, because you pivoted, you went from Calm Birth School, hypnobirthing, to now business, entrepreneurship, leadership. I've pivoted a lot and evolved. I think some people are afraid to do that. They feel themselves evolving. They've created a bit of a name for themselves doing one thing, and they're feeling a pull in another direction, but they feel like they're going to lose people. They feel like they're not allowed because people are holding them to kind of, an old version of themselves. How would you advise that someone best is able to do this, able to continue to evolve as the years go on and change, allow their message to change without it seeming inconsistent?
I think that you just have to not worry about needing to be consistent. And the person that comes to mind, I was watching an old video of hers from the 2016 Women of the Year Award, and it was Madonna. And she was like, the reason that the thing that I think I've done most well in my career is stick around. And I admire her so deeply because she is the queen of reinvention. And I think that your ability and capacity and willingness to give yourself permission to shed another layer gets to be inspiring. You know, it's remembering that we write the story. We get to write the story that we are living. And it doesn't matter whether this is your life or your business. If you feel confined to sticking in a position because you're afraid, this is scarcity mindset, you're afraid that nobody's ever going to pay you again, you're afraid that people are going to judge you, you're afraid that your business is going to go down the toilet, then guess what? You stay stuck. You know, what is the vision that you have for yourself and your life? And I think that drives me in everything that I do. Like, do you want to stick with what you're doing and in 30 years wake up on your deathbed, 30, 50, however old you are, wake up on your deathbed and say, what the fuck happened? You know, it's like you've got to take the risk. And this idea of what will people think of me if they see me as inconsistent, this is what I mean when you're able to connect to your essence. And I was talking to a client about this the other day, and I said to her, she was talking about how her identity was so wrapped up in her business. And she was getting really emotional. She was like, I don't know what I would do if anybody ever took this away from me. And I said to her, you are not your business. You're not you is not your mother. You're not a sister. You're not a wife. You're not any of those things. Like, your essence came into this world with none of that as a construct. You know, your personality has been developed in order to keep you safe and in order to help you operate in this world. But your personality isn't you, and your business isn't you. None of that stuff matters. And your willingness to connect with your essence as frequently as possible means that way more of those bullshit stories that will keep you stuck and not living the life that you want to live get to fall away. And it's not easy because the mind is strong, you know, and what's going on in society and around us is something that we have to deal with every single day. But your willingness to tune in means that you will be driven less by that kind of bullshit.
Yes. I love that. That was a really big moment in my growth as well, was to realize that I was not my business. And I think I experienced the biggest growth spurt in my business when I actually turned the attention away from growing my business and actually put it on my soul growth, my healing, my self-love, my journey, my inner world. And as that grew and evolved and expanded, naturally, I knew the next thing to do for my business. It's like I was trying to do it the other way around, and it was just like not happening, you know. And I think that's what I see people doing a lot, is just like pouring 100% into their business and neglecting themselves, their soul growth, their journey, you know, their relationships, the things in their life outside of the business, not realizing that actually by nourishing those things, you're actually giving to your business anyway by doing that.
1,000%. And I want to make it clear as well, doing it that way works. Like, oh my God, like, I've pushed. Like, my natural, in inverted commas, my natural state is to push and actually to lean back is like I have to be very intentional. I have to be very intentional about dropping out of my head and into my heart. Like, absolutely. But it's no surprise to me that in 2020, the year that the world stopped, and it was the year that I remember, like, March had happened. Everybody was just like, what the hell? And I'd been so present for my clients and so just wanting to be there for them. I was feeling burned out, and I said, I'm just going to take 3 days where I'm completely offline. And I did. I took 3 days to myself. And in that time, I downloaded my first purely non-business course called The Gateway, and I stopped calling myself a business mentor as such, and I rebranded as a quantum transformation and embodiment coach. And I taught in that program, which was 6 weeks, it was called The Gateway, everything that I'd been learning about conscious, subconscious, energetic, and physical transformation. And as I say, that course was downloaded to me in those 3 days of quiet and not being there for anybody else. And it felt it felt like such a brave or crazy thing to be doing, because it was at the time where everybody wanted the blueprint. Everybody was like, okay, now is the time to get the how to. And I was like, I am not going to teach the how to, because it didn't feel right and aligned. And to be able to share what I felt people needed on a spiritual level felt absolutely the right thing to do. And that was such a huge shift when it came to trust, when it came to doing it my way, when it came to letting go of the template. Yeah, and that was all about listening.
Yes, I love this so much. 2020 was definitely a year for it was like such a I don't want to say test, but like an opportunity for like how we can really come home to ourselves and reevaluate and remember who we are, and then decide. There's never been a better time to reinvent yourself and decide who you want to be, how you want to live. And for you, I've seen you just break through so many ceilings time and time again. And I know that a lot of your clients are coming to you because that's what they want. They want to break through to the next level in their growth and in their business. What would you say some of the key things that hold people back from breaking that ceiling into the next level?
I was saying the other day that if I could only talk about one thing for the rest of my kind of career, it would be releasing fear. And I think that fear presents itself in so many different, sneaky, obnoxious, covert, and obvious ways. That is the absolute number one thing that stops people from being who they are and receiving what it is that they want to receive, whether it is fear of success, fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of looking like a fool, fear of being seen, fear of not being good enough. All of the fears, that's always what it is. And it paralyzes people. Like, often it's people are like, I'm in resistance and I'm not sure what I'm resisting. I'm procrastinating and I don't know why I'm procrastinating. And sometimes it's alignment. Sometimes it genuinely is that it's not the right thing to be doing. But 99% of the time, we know what it is. What we want. We know what that next step is. 99% of the time, and we're afraid to rock the boat. We're afraid to break the the world that we have built for ourselves. Like that idea of like what happens on the other side, like it's intense. It's really intense. And I think that stops us.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think there's something to be said about the fears that we have may actually come true. You know, like fear of like, if I get to this next level of success, I might lose this person from my life, or people might think different of me. You know, we're not saying that those fears are made up stories. You know,
No.
that could happen.
That could happen. And I think the thing that we underestimate is how we will survive and deal with those situations if the worst does happen. And it's that fear of, I don't have, and maybe we don't use these words, but it's we underestimate our resilience, or we will do anything that we can to avoid the pain that we know may happen if the worst happens. Like, who wants to suffer? Who wants to be in pain? Like, is it worth it? And the answer to that question is, it depends on the life that you want to lead. You know, do you want to? Are you willing to compromise in order to avoid the pain of change? You know, are you willing to not be who you really know you're capable of being because you're afraid that it's going to hurt on the way? And the answer to that question is that most people are willing to avoid that pain. And I think that that's where the spiritual work comes in and is so important.
Yeah, because without that, you think it's just you, just relying on you alone, and you probably feel super alone in the world. And where's your faith? Where's your trust? You're not able to trust and surrender if you don't have that spiritual belief system and relationship with the divine. You know, I can't imagine where I would be if I didn't have that. Nowhere.
100%.
It plays such a big role.
1,000%. And, you know, when I talk about my mum's passing and my dad's, I always talk about my mum first. I'm like, I love you too, Dad. But I'm able to talk about it from such a place of it being such a beautiful gift for me, because without their passing, I know I wouldn't look at life the way that I look at life, and I wouldn't look at death the way that I look at death. It's like so many of the decisions that we make are because we're afraid of dying, you know? And so their passing so early on in my life is just such an incredible gift. And again, I feel like it's really important to just keep on saying, like, I'm so in the journey. Like, I am so in the journey. And so everything that I am sharing and saying today is like, this is me in practice. Like, I'm so not over the hill. Like, it's ridiculous. And at the same time, like, I really enjoy being in the practice.
Yeah. Well, there's no finish line with this, you know, and there shouldn't be. And I feel the exact same about life because of the death that I've experienced in my life. You know, I also lost my dad at a super young age. I was just 22. And it definitely changes the way you view life when you can survive such a huge loss and still be alive, and not just be alive, but actually have transmuted it into a huge gift and a source of strength and power and relationship with the spiritual world. And I'm right there now, again, experiencing a huge grief and loss and rupture, and I know that you've been through a huge shift yourself this last 6 months as well, and look at us both surviving, living, turning it into magic.
Yeah. I mean, God, I think that when you find somebody who makes you laugh, somebody that you can cry with, somebody who that you want to have babies with, like, for me, it's a long relationship. We were together for a very long time. And it's funny, I was saying to a friend today, he was just like, I'm heartbroken to hear about you guys. And I was like, we'll be forever intertwined. And it's true, like, we have 3 incredible children together, but it's scary. I talked about it on my podcast. I didn't specifically reference our separation, but I talked about that it's safe for you to want amazing, and it's okay for you to want amazing. And there is still an element of shame and guilt around the fact that, after, I can't work out how long we've been together, I think it's like 17 years, that it wasn't amazing anymore, And the shame and guilt doesn't just come from the fact that it wasn't amazing, but to acknowledge that it didn't feel enough. Like, that feels still shameful, and that is stuff that I get to work through and release. Like, that's the work.
Well, yeah, I think it at the end of the day, it comes down to wanting to be met, wanting to be met where you are, wanting to feel that resonance and that connection and that alignment. And although my situation is extremely different to yours, I think a lot of people will resonate with feeling like they're not allowing themselves to want more happiness, more love, more connection, more peace, So thank you for sharing that.
I think that I can't do what I am doing and not look at myself and not look at my relationship. I have people talk to me about their most intimate fears and feelings and desires and aspirations in their business and in their life. And I couldn't sit there and be like, yeah, and this is what I think that you should do, whilst being like, oh, I'm not feeling it. Like, that felt so incongruent and so dishonest. It was like, okay, things have to be different now, and that's hard.
Yeah, and that's why that's integrity and honesty with yourself, such a key ingredient if you want to grow and be successful and be authentic, especially if you're sharing yourself online. You really need to live in integrity with yourself and your values and be able to be really honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And you live that.
I love it, and it sucks.
Oh. Yeah. The 3 questions I always ask every guest. What is one thing that you are in love with right now?
Oh, I'm in love with the blossom on the trees, which will soon be passing, but I am in the south of England, in Kent, and outside of my window is a golf course with a beautiful hedgerow, and that hedgerow has just been full of blossom for the last few weeks as spring is springing, and it feels so good and so beautiful. And I walk out of the house and I walk down the road and I'm just like, wow, I love you. Thank you. I'm so grateful for you. So yeah, that is something that I'm loving. Blossom. New beginnings.
Love that. What is something that turns you on?
Oh, I'm hesitating because I'm like, am I allowed to say that based on everything that I've just said? But
yes, you are. You are.
What what turns me on is the thought of being touched and feeling the electricity again. Like that thought is exciting to me.
Ooh, I'm really excited for you to feel that again.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Oh, I have goosebumps thinking about it as well. Okay. And finally, when was the last time you experienced magic?
I want to say like I experience it every single day. Like obviously I do. But I tell you what I think is really magic. The way that my kids have responded to our separation, like, leaves me in awe. Like, those children are, it makes me feel emotional. Those children are deeply, deeply magic, healing, beautiful souls, you know? And so, yes, I experience magic every day, but when I think about them over the last few months, I'm like, they are magic.
Oh, well, they are a beautiful reflection of you, Suzy. Oh, this has been so beautiful. Thank you so much for your time, your energy, your wisdom. We're going to head over and do some more questions inside the Goddess Collective now. But before we leave, how can everyone come and connect with you more, work with you, find out about you, hang out with you?
I do most of my hanging out in the Quantum Success Hub for female entrepreneurs. I go live every Thursday with my take on a weekly show called Thrive Thursday. Otherwise, I'm on Insta, Suzy_Ashworth or SuzyAshworth.com. I'm in all of the places. Come and find me.
Amazing. Thank you so much, love.
Thank you. I love you.
So, loves, I hope you absolutely loved that episode. If you did, please do share it on the gram. Tag us in your story. Let us know what you thought of this episode. Leave a bloody great review. We would absolutely love to read your reviews. And of course, hit subscribe. And I'm wishing you a very beautiful week filled with love and sex and magic.